Gyeongbokgung Palace. King Teajo, who founded the Joseon dynasty in 1392, opened a palace construction guide in 1394. The third year of his accession, and when he made the palace built in Hanyang in 1394, he first made it built. The site where the new palace was first built was too narrow, so it moved a little south from there, and the building was placed on the site of the current Gyeongbokgung Palace and a pavilion was built. Gyeongbokgung Palace, the new palace, began in August 1395, the fourth year of King Taejo's reign, and was completed on September 29 of the same year. However, only the inner center of the palace was formed at this time, and government offices such as Uijungbu and Yukzo, which were built in front of the palace, were completed a few years later. In October 1395 of the lunar calendar, King Taejo entered the palace and asked Yeongdu-jun to name the new palace and major pavilions. At this time, major buildings such as Gyeongjun and Gwanghwa-mun were named. Gyeongbok is a word in the poem, which means that the king, his descendants, and the whole people may enjoy the great blessings of the peaceful times. In terms of feng shui, it is surrounded by Naksan Mountain and Inwangsun Mountain on the left and right, leaving Baekoksan Mountain behind. It is the most central royal palace in the Joseon dynasty, and the royal palace where the king lives. And it is the first palace built after moving its capital to Hanyang in the fourth year of King Taejo's reign. Here, kings and officials gathered to hold a feast or to give a banquet to envoys from abroad. King Sejong, who succeeded King Taejong, mainly lived in Gyeongbokgung Palace, and built a Jip-yun-jun hall in the area of Gulnae-gak-saw on the south side of Gyeonghi-lu Pavilion and brought scholars close. In addition, Bo-ru-kak Pavilion, which informs the time, was built on the south side of Gyeonglu Pavilion, and Ga-nui-de. An astronomical observation facility was installed on the northwest corner of the palace. As a palace that kept the basic form of the layout of the capital city building, which has been handed down from ancient times in China. There is a Jongmyo shrine on the left of the palace, and Sazakdan altar on the right is located. The layout of the buildings includes Kaeonjung-jun Hall, where the king holds large events of the state or receives ordinances of his subjects, and Jung-jun and Pyeonjun, where the king takes general affairs, and the king and queen live in the back. This is the system of the rear of the precursor. And this form is interpreted as Gyeongbokgung Palace trying to show particularly strict norms as the court palace of Joseon. It is an important historical site where you can check the appearance of the main palace of Joseon. Building. In Gyeongbokgung Palace, dozens of pavilions were built in the form of 4 gates in the east, west, north and south. Kyunjing-jun Hall in the center, Dongjing Palace and Jung-jun Hall in the east, and Gwal-gwan-sa Temple and Gyeonghelu Pavilion in the west. Gwanghwa-mun is the main gate to the south of Gyeongbokgung Palace. The original name was Nam Moon Gate. but the name was changed to Guanghwamun during the reign of King Sejong. The name was changed to Guanghwamun, meaning that the great virtue of the king shines on the whole country. Kun Chun Moon Gate is a gate on the east side of Gyeongbokgung Palace, and was named Kun Chun Moon Gate, meaning, "The east corresponds to spring." It was mainly the gate where royalty, guards, and courtiers came and went. Yeongchuman Gate is a gate on the west side of Gyeongbokgung Palace, and it was named Yeongchuman Gate to mean that the west corresponds to autumn. Outside the door was a stream with a great number of trees. It was mainly in and out of the ordinary bureaucrats. Sinmuman Gate is a gate in the north of Gyeongbokgung Palace, and was named Sinmuman Gate after Hyunmu in charge of the north. As its name suggests, it is said to have a strong tone, so it is usually tightly closed. Hong Lemon Gate is an intermediate gate between Gwanghwamun Gate, the main gate, and is a middle-story wooden building with 3 bays in the front and 2 bays in the side. Junjongman Gate is the main gate of Junjongjeon Hall, a power station, and has a middle-story structure with 3 bays in front and 1 bay on the left and right sides, respectively. It is designated as Treasure Number 821. When the king did not travel outside the palace, the door was usually closed, and instead, officials used the doors on the left and right sides to enter the palace. Gyeongjongjeon Hall was a battleground and a Buddhist temple that held national ceremonies, including the condolences of civil servants, at Gyeongbokgung Palace, and received foreign envoys. Currently, Junjongjeon Hall is Korea's largest existing wooden structure designated as National Treasure Number 223. Sejongjeon Hall is the central building of the Pyeonjeon where the king used to work for the country, and is in a Pyeonjeon along with Manchunjeon Hall and Cheonchujeon Hall on the left and right. Chunchujeon is a small exhibition of the king, where the king and his subjects discussed learning. Manchunjeon Hall is an annex building that assists Saeungjeon Hall, and is one of the Pyeonjeon where the king discussed the affairs of the country with his servants or held a banquet. Gyeongjeon Hall was the place where the king lived, so he paid attention to prevent a fire. But since the chimney could not be built near the building or far away, the chimney was attached to the left and right sides of Yeonggimun Gate to Kyotaejeon Hall behind Gyeongjun Hall. Kyotaejeon Hall is Yeonggyeon Hall, the Queen's Sediment, and Kyotae is the name of the title in the main character, meaning that Yang and Yin interact. On the back of the building, a dry pavilion connected by a floor and a room is placed on the east side of the rear so that you can see the garden, Amison Mountain. It is located between the north side of Sojubang Dongging Palace and the south side of Zakyeongjeon Hall, and is a dining space where food in the palace is stored, cooked, and provided, where royal food was made, including surasong. Gyeonghelu Pavilion is a pavilion in Gyeongbokgung Palace and is National Treasure Number 224. This is the place where a grand banquet was held during the Joseon dynasty when there was a national celebration. And it is the current Cheonghwa-dae guest house. Originally, Gyeonghelu Pavilion was a small pavilion built by digging a pond in the western wetland when Gyeongbokgung Palace was founded. And this pavilion was built to provide a venue for a banquet when a Chinese envoy came. Gyeonghelu Pavilion is the largest pavilion in Korea in a single plane. It is highly appreciated that such a huge building was built on an island artificially created in the water. But the foundation was solidified so that the surrounding scenery such as Inwangsan Mountain, Buk-Oksan Mountain, and Namsan Mountain could be seen at a glance from the second-floor pavilion. Thank you so much for loving and watching Korean Royal Palace.